Okay, you guys know, nothing that comes out of my mouth is original. It's always, I've copied it from somebody. So never think that I'm the smart person, because I'm not. I'm just a good copier. Okay, so I listened to this podcast. You know, Amy Porterfield's one of my favorites. She interviewed this gal, and the topic was about how do you create a story that's compelling and it's going to make people like wake up and want to hear what you have to say. And so she started out by saying, there are 3 ways to create what she called binge-worthy stories. Meaning, if somebody's listened to you tell their story, they're literally so engaged, they don't want to walk away. And so she said there are 3 different types of stories. So I want you, as I'm describing these stories, I want you to, on your paper, like write the 3 different types of stories and then star the one you think your story most aligns with. Okay, so first is, she said, a redemption story. Do you have a redemption story? And so a redemption story would be, I don't know how many of y'all have heard Brenda's story, but Brenda was extremely sick when she started on Juice Plus. Like, I remember her talking about a big baggie full of supplements, medication. So her redemption story, if you've ever heard it, is her telling about how she went from being so sick and desperate and then getting on Juice Plus, not even with a high expectation anything was going to happen, but yet turning that around to the point, you're on no medication today, right? I can't hear you.
No, I haven't been on for any medications for 15 years.
Okay. Karen Farrell, I mean, if anyone's heard Karen, has an unbelievable story too. So I would definitely say Karen has a redemption story. I mean, her health recovery story is amazing. So number 1, what you're doing when you're telling a redemption story, you are just infusing people with inspiration. And you're telling, here's where I was, here's where I am today. And what you're doing is trying to make that connection with that person you're talking to, because what you're wanting them to do is jump into that story and be glued. If you've heard Karen's story or Brenda's story that I'm example, I mean, you are like glued. I remember the first time hearing Karen's story, I was like, oh my gosh, Karen, send that to me. I can think of 10 people who need to hear that story. That's a redemption story. Okay, another one would be a walk away story. And Sandy Dial, can you come back on? Sandy Dial, I would say maybe you have a walk away story. And now this is her distributor story. She may have walked away right now from our call. Oh, there she was.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, I'm thinking about Sandy and my conversation. She got on Juice Plus. Your walk-away story would be, she walked away for, how long were you with UPS?
25 years.
25 years. So she walked away, retired from UPS, and walked away from that into her Juice Plus Career 2.0. And so, you know, Sandy and I are working closely together. We live in the same town. I can't wait for her Career 2.0 story just to be phenomenal. But I would say that would be a walk away story. You're walking away from something into something else or towards something else. Okay? So walk away story. And then the third story is, you're not alone. And I would say my story is probably a you're not alone story. You know, that I wanted to quit work and I was at home and I had, you know, I could do my you're not alone story with my kids, struggling with, what do I feed them? You know what? Knowing, as even though we weren't junk food eaters, we were not getting 9 to 13 raw fruits and vegetables. So you're not alone if you're struggling with that, because I struggled with it. And I was looking for an answer because I knew I had a need. So you're not alone in the fact that you're feeling like your kids aren't getting the nutrition they need, so that would be my you're not alone story. So I want you guys to think about it right now. I'm going to put up this chat line. Okay, let me see, put in either what you think your story is, a redemption story, a walk away story, or you're not alone story. Type it in the notes in the chat section. Because what we want to do, you guys, we've got so many people to share Juice Plus product and Juice Plus business with. But if we're being held back because our story's not quite where it needs to be, it's okay. Let me ask you this. Just show of hands. If you were going to grade yourself on where your story is right now, what would it be? 1 being, oh my gosh, I need some work. Or 10 being, I feel good, I feel great about my story. Let me see. Show me your hands. Where's your story land? Okay, Laura's at a 5. Erin's at a 7.
5.
Karen's at an 8. Shelly's at an 8. She's got to show her hands low. Allison at a 6. Dale at a 5. Rhonda at a 3. Who else? Let me see some numbers. Okay. So I don't see any 10s. We got any 10s? That tells me we need to work on our story, because what I want you so freaking confident that you're like, man, I am a 10. My story is compelling. People are going to want to hear it. And I am pumped to share it. I want you so excited you're 10 feet off the ground when you get ready to share a story with someone. And they're like, whoa, this person is excited about what has just happened in their life. Okay? So this is what I want you to think about. Okay, so let me look real quick. Karen Farrell, redemption story. Shelly's got a redemption story with her son. I love it. Sandy Dial's got a walk away story. Laura's got a redemption. Erin's You're Not Alone story. Miracle walk away story. Lisa, redemption. And You're Not Alone. Walk away. Okay, I'm loving this. Did everyone resonate with one of those 3 stories? Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. Hey, Bill, where are you? What's yours? I didn't see you respond. Do I got another walk away? I'm still hearing from Jackie. How about you? Let me hear from Jackie. I don't think I saw Jackie. Allison's You're Not Alone story. Okay. All right. So I want you to be thinking, based on how I described that, thinking about how can my story even become more compelling based on what I just shared. Now, now that you know what your story is, then how do you start your story? All right, so on this call, she talked about this podcast. She talked about don't start at the beginning, because then it's kind of like this long, well, back in 1953, you've lost them already. So you just kind of jump in so that people want to, oh my gosh, I got to catch up. What's the story about? So Brenda, tell me, what is your, don't start the beginning, jump into your story. How do you jump into a story? Your story.
If you had met me several years ago, you probably had no idea how sick I really was. Because usually that's when, we talk about feeling great every day. And it's also when I say, that's what I love what I do. That's usually, because both of my stories, business and personal, are redemption stories, because I got to walk away from teaching. So that's, yeah.
So I love that. Did you notice she had a jump in line for both her business and her product? So your product jump in line was, say the 2 again.
If you had met me 15 years ago or 16 years ago now, you'd have no idea how sick I really was. And that's usually after they've been telling me they're ill or that kind of thing. And I know how you feel. I felt that way too.
Okay. So kind of, you're not alone also.
That's
So
true.
okay, so I loved how she made that comment that when they start telling what's going on with them and how sick they are, then that's when she jumps into her story. And then when do you jump into your
Business.
uh-huh.
And I can kind of use the line, that's why I love what I do, both ways. And I say that a lot because not too many people love what they do, honestly. And
Okay.
that's something that hooks everybody instantly, I think.
Okay, so let me ask, who out there knows what their jump in line is, whether business or product? Okay, Joey.
My line would be, see these hands? I couldn't use them a year ago, and now I've got full control of them. And that's why I'm taking.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, Joey. Excellent.
Mhm.
Okay, who else?
Karen
Erin or Karen?
Karen Farrell.
Okay, Karen. Okay, Erin, we sound an awful lot alike. Sorry. With my personal one, my personal story is my business story is I get to work for the company that saved my life.
Ooh, I just got cold chills. You guys are good. I got to rework mine. Love it. Okay, who else? Allison.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking my story isn't that powerful.
But it can be.
It can be, and that's what I've got to figure out because I was healthy when I started on the product. I wasn't on any medication. I wasn't. And then the business, I wasn't in any kind of desperate need financially or anything like that. So I think the big thing for me is finding that phrase that's gonna capture people,
Okay.
because there are a lot of people like me. They still need Juice Plus the product. They still are going to benefit from the business. It doesn't have to be a desperate situation. I just need to figure out what that tagline will be.
Okay, I'm going to let you think about it. And I love the fact that Allison brings up a really good comment. I don't have this powerful transformation redemptive story. But I think where the key comes in is exactly what you're talking about, Allison, is I need to think about what is my jump in line that's going to capture someone's attention. Doesn't have to be, oh, my arm got cut off and it grew back. It doesn't have to be off the charts, but it does have to be said in a way that you capture people's attention and get the story going. So you think about it.
And they want to know more.
And so they want, yes.
Yeah, and I think
They're
too.
hanging on your words.
Mm-hmm. And I think that if we try to always, it's great if you have a powerful disease story, but we also want to let people know it doesn't matter if you're yourself healthy or sick. Mm-hmm. We all need Juice Plus. The whole thing is none of us are getting enough. So it's just trying to think of that line that will capture them.
Absolutely. Okay, who else? Who else knows what their jump in line is? Laura, did I see you raise your hand?
No, I just put a message on there for Allison about,
okay.
How I get to work with the most amazing people and that help make my job fun,
okay.
Something like that when you don't
You're approaching it from a fun, which is excellent because people they're sick of going to work and oh my gosh, I got to work. They want to do something that's fun, that's exciting, that they're with people. So I like bringing the fun aspect in, Laura. Erin, were you going to share?
No, I'm just struggling.
Okay,
I was
so you want to think.
Man, you were sick and broke.
But you know what, Erin? You have an enormous amount of customers and distributors. So you must be saying something right.
Right.
So what have you been saying?
I probably just start with because people want to know how long you been taking this stuff, and I'll be 10 years ago. My husband went from 30 sick days to 1 sick day.
There you go. There's your jump in line right there.
And that's enough. I don't need to say we were sick and broke because
throwing the broke in opens a whole nother category.
Yeah.
Yes.
It opened.
I love that. We were sick and broke, and maybe add a little bit to that. Like, we were sick and broke, and I knew I had to do something about it. And fortunately, blah, 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 you know?
Awesome.
So
Okay.
finish it. I like that. We were sick and broke. And
Yeah, but we were headed toward a dream, and we just needed some help, because we
Wow.
were real dreamers.
okay, work on that. I think you're good. Okay, who else? Who hasn't talked? Miracle, are you there? Can you talk to us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so you said yours was it a walk away story? What's your jump in line? Because this gal here, I'm telling you, I keep telling her I want her to do a training on cold calling, because this girl is awesome at striking up conversations with people. So let's hear. Yeah, we want to hear your jump in line.
Okay, so usually I'll say, hi, I'm on a health journey and I would love to invite you to join me. I'm not where I need to be, but I found something amazing that's transformed my life.
Mm.
So,
And usually what do people say back to you when you share that?
they want to know what it is. What is it that what journey do they need to join with me?
Okay. And she just said something that really triggered, I think, a really important thought. Whatever we say, you want it to the point that people are going to ask you a question back. Oh my gosh, you were sick and broke. What happened? Oh my goodness, you work for the company that saved your life. Tell me about it. Oh my good. What you want is whatever you're going to say. One, it needs to be authentic with who you are. And in your own personal skin and the way that you come across and talk to people, but it needs to be so powerful that the first thing that comes back is a question back to you of someone wanting more. That's what you ultimately want.
Oh, and I have one more thing that I say to a lot of millennials. I say, they'll ask me, maybe we're having a conversation about what I do. And I said, I literally work my business from my laptop and my phone.
Ooh.
And their eyes like light up like, yes, I want to do that. And then we kind of jump into more about what the business and what the virtual franchise business, in details.
Very good. Okay. So first and foremost, okay, this is your homework because we're going to workshop this for a couple weeks. So first and foremost, what's your story? Is it redemptive, walk away, or you're not alone? That's the first part. Second chunk is what's your jump in line, both product and business. That's your second piece of homework. Okay, now I'm going to move to the third part of this. What's your story? And that is the content. Okay, so we know what type of story, we know our jump in line, then it's the content of the story. And here's what she said. And when I went back and looked at my own story, I was like, oh my gosh, I do that. Check. Okay, so the content portion, this lady is a movie screenwriter, is what she is. And so she knows how to capture people's attention because she's got several movies out there. So she knows how to write a story. Now all we're doing is converting it into an audible way of telling our story versus watching it. Okay, so she said, in the context portion of your story, you have to create conflict. And you think about it. Romeo and Juliet, Cinderella, Braveheart. There's always conflict in a good story. So she said you have to create conflict when you're sharing the content of your story. And how she said this is to think of it as the rule of 3. So 2 unsuccessful attempts and 1 successful attempt. So you never watch a show that instantly first go round, she goes, it'd be a 30-minute movie. So you've got to do 2 unsuccessful attempts and 1 successful attempt. So when I think about when I'm sharing my story, you guys have heard it 100 times and I'll spare you hearing it again. But I talk about, we tried to get healthy. It was a year of our health. That's kind of my jump in line. 2000 was the year of health for our family. Actually, it was 1999. We started taking vitamins. I go into the story about my husband having a bad reaction. unsuccessful attempt number 1. So then what did you, if you've heard my story, what was my second attempt to get healthy? Started juicing. So that was my second attempt. We were unsuccessful. Couldn't do it. Didn't last long. Too hard. Number 3 was my success, Juice Plus. And it worked. It was what we needed. So the jumping line was my jumping line. It was 1999, and it was the year of health. So people are like, what do you mean the year of health? You know what I mean? So it's like create a question, then you get to the content, to unsuccessful attempt, a successful attempt. What you're doing is creating, that conflict and then that resolution. Okay. So does that make sense? Someone think about your story. Can anybody think through their story and say, oh, okay, I see 2 unsuccessful attempts in a successful attempt? Anybody? Whether business or product. Okay, Allison.
So my dad had cancer, and that's when we learned about nutrition. So my 2 unsuccessful would be just committing to eat well and thinking that was going to be doable. In about 2 weeks in, I realized, you know what? I can buy that wide variety, but it just rots, because if you don't like it, you're not going to eat it. So just the unsuccess of actually being able to do what I knew in my head we needed to do. The second unsuccessful was thinking I could bridge the gap with synthetic vitamins. And then obviously the successful was bridging the gap with whole food.
Okay, perfect. So I want you guys to literally go through these steps from a product standpoint, and I want you to go through these steps from a distributor standpoint. So first, I know I'm wearing y'all out, repetition. Okay, first you got to figure out what's your story, redemption, walk away, or you're not alone. Then what's your jump-in line, both product and business? What's your 2 unsuccessful attempts and a successful attempt, both product and business? And then lastly, how you gonna put a big bow around your story? What's the final story or your conclusion? And she talked about you need 2 things. If you want a resolved ending, so you got started on Juice Plus, so you became a distributor. So that's probably going to be the resolution for us. But how you going to make it to the point that they're like, wow, I want to do what you're doing. I want to take what you're taking. That makes sense. You want to bring them to the point that they want that same resolution in their own life, both on a business and product standpoint. Then the other thing she said, or you can do what's next if you want to carry it on. And let's just say you're having that conversation with someone and they're not there yet. They've not bought in. They've not been asking questions. So maybe then you have what's next? What's next? So it's either resolve and get them signed up as a customer or distributor, or what's that next step? As Eric Worre always tells us, never walk away from someone without a next step. So if they're not ready to get started on Juice Plus, what's your next step with them before you finish your conversation? If they're not ready to sign up quite yet, what's your next step with them? Because you're not going to let them go. I loved it. Brenda, what was it that, oh gosh, what was his name?
Gary Nagel.
Yes. Remind him what he said. I about left my head off. We're at an NMD meeting. Why don't you tell him that story?
Well, he's one of the most successful people in Juice Plus, and he was raised by his grandparents. And he said, my grandma always said, to get on your feet, you got to get off your ass. We're like, wow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And, I think I love the whole.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but he made some comment that give me 5 minutes. What was that?
Right.
That's
yeah,
what I was
I'm sorry. Sit down with me for a few minutes and you'll be taking Juice Plus. He said that because, it's going to come out of my mouth immediately.
It was that confidence that he exudes is
Mm-hmm.
so attractive. Like he's the guy that always says, keep punching. He was a professional
Fight promoter.
So
Mhm.
his tagline is keep punching, personal tagline.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're around him, you want to be around him more. He came up to Kim McCall. We were all at a table eating. He wanted Kim McCall to come to Louisiana. So he's got this Louisianan accent. And he wanted Kim McCall to come and speak. And he walked away and she's like, how do you, she goes, that's the week my kids go back to school. But how do you tell Carrie Daigle no? She didn't. She did not tell him no. He'd been down next to her at that table and he looked her in that. He has such a compelling way of drawing you in with his story and who he is that she's like, how do you tell Carrie Daigle no? I didn't. I'm going. That's what you want. You want to be to the point that someone says, how do I tell Dale no? How do I tell Laura no? Of course I want to get on Juice Plus with her. Of course I want to be part of her team. That's what you want. You want to get your story to the point that it is so freaking compelling, nobody can tell you no. And you know what? They're happy about it. They're happy that they're getting to spend money with you. They're happy that they're going to pick up another job. I'm not going to say job, another business, because they want to be with you. They want to engage with you. They are so in love with who you are. That's what we want to be. You know what? And we don't all want to be the same. We want to be that in our God-given personality. I loved. What was his name? He was a psychologist. He did this talk called Seeds of Greatness. And he was like, every single one of us have seeds of greatness within us. The question is, are we developing them, growing them, watering them? And then he ended it by saying, because God doesn't make no junk. And I love that, because God doesn't make any junk. We're all created in his image. I'm going to start preaching, man. We are created in his image. And he didn't make any junk. So it's in each one of us to have a Carrie Daigle, not personality, because we want to be who God made us to be, but have that attractiveness that people can't help but want to be with us, to join us, to buy from us. They want it. They can't wait. They're dropping their purse. They can't wait to get their credit card out fast enough. That's what we want. Or they're giving you their information to become a distributor before you're even ready to type it in the computer. So, you guys, this is our money maker, is our story. So I know I'm 7 minutes over time, so I need to shut up. But next week we won't have our call because it's
Memorial
Day weekend. And then the following week, I'm headed to Uganda on Saturday. So I am going to be gone the following Monday. And I said, Brenda, please wait till I get back to keep working on our story. So I'm going to see if Allison, if you will check in with Caitlin and see if you and Caitlin will do a topic, maybe not next week, but the following Monday on social media, which I've had a lot of you ask about that. And these two are awesome. So what'd you say?
Monday, June 3rd.
Yeah.
Yes. Would you see if that works for Caitlin? And make sure you record it, because I desperately need help with this. So that we're thinking June 3rd, do one on social media. And then let's come back and let's keep workshopping our stories. So that's going to give everyone 2 weeks to get your story down. Mm-hmm. And you know me, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to start picking out some people because I want to hear your stories. And let's keep them short. I know we all can elaborate, but let's try to keep them in a 1 to 2 minute time frame. Okay? What we're wanting to do is capture attention. So one more time. I'm going over the to-do. Dale's like, Elaine, not again. Okay. So redemption story, walk away story, you're not alone story. Figure out which you are, wrap your head around it. Then what's your jump in line, both product and business? What's your content? Your 2 unsuccessful attempts in your attempt, or create some kind of conflict. So in your content of your story, create the conflict so they feel it. They're in the mud puddle with you. They feel the conflict. And
or
then
the pain. Or the pain.
Or the excitement. Or the excitement. Like there can be conflict as you're working towards something too. So good and bad. And then how are you going to conclude it? How are you going to draw them in to say, Erin, look at her face. Erin, I just want to come sit with you. You know, what is it about your God-given seeds of greatness that you're going to pull them in when it comes to that conclusion? Okay? 2 weeks. Come on this call prepared to wow us with your story. And if you need help,
please call me.
Call Brenda, call me, call your upline, call your sideline, call your husband, whoever you got to call. Get to the point that you come on this call at least at a 7. And then we're going to workshop it to a 10. Okay?
We're going to workshop everybody's story.
We're going to workshop everybody's story. This got me thinking about tweaking my story too. So I don't care how long you've been doing this business, we can all get better. So, okay, I will shut up. If you got to get off, we are going to stop the recording.